Hello. Hello everyone and welcome to our another webinar from Adapt Immigration Inc. And this time we are talking about how to immigrate to Canada as a healthcare professional. And we have lots of interesting topics today. And we also have two speakers for today's webinar. So while we're waiting for others to join the webinar, let me go ahead and show you what topics are we discussing today. So our agenda for today, first, we're going to talk about how to become a licensed nurse in Canada. Second, we are going to talk about immigration pathways for healthcare professional. And since we have two speakers for today, we are going to talk about how these two companies can help you build your career in healthcare and how we can help you in your immigration journey. All right. So here are our two speakers. First, we have Teresa Papachan, who is a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and she is, of course, our resident speakers for our webinars. She is an international education and immigration professional with over 15 years of experience and an immigrant who has lived in India, Australia, and has now settled in Canada. She is the founder and director of Adapt Immigration Inc. and Adapt Consultants. So, Adapt Immigration Inc. Helps people to navigate through the immigration process with confidence and peace of mind, while Adapt Consultants is an education consulting firm who works with several universities and colleges to assist you with course selections. But we don't just stop there. We also plan your return on investment, what happens after your studies, and what you should be prepared for in your study abroad journey. And of course, we have another speaker for today who is a registered nurse specializing in intensive care. He is the founder of Nurse Recruit, who has facilitated connections between over 30 employers and 650 job seekers within the healthcare industry. So it's Connor Kucharik. And Nurse Recruit is a virtual platform designed to facilitate connections between healthcare professionals, students, and employers. So through virtual job fairs, webinars, and upcoming features like the job board for Canadian nurses, Nurse Recruit aim to revolutionize the job search experience, and their mission is to provide supportive environment where healthcare professionals can explore career options, develop essential skills, and find their next job with confidence. Okay, so hello, Teresa, and hi, Connor. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you, Anne, for that lovely introduction.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. Yep.
Just on a quick thing here, I think you forgot to introduce yourself. Anne is Anne Plaza is our marketing communication specialist here at Adapt, and she takes care of all our. Actually, she takes care of a lot of things in as a whole, but she mainly focuses on marketing and communication. So thank you, Anne, for coordinating this. And hello, Connor. Thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for having me today. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, and our special speaker, Connor, is going to help us understand what nurses do and what nurses need, especially for internationally trained nurses. So, without further ado, I will leave it on to Connor.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Well, hello, everyone, and thank you for having me again. So I'll start with how to become a licensed nurse in Canada. A little bit more about myself and Nurse Recruit is we are a company that focuses on creating connections between healthcare employers and nurses alike. We are starting to enter the field of internationally educated nurses, and we're very excited to be here about that. So that is where we are today, and we host a lot of different events through virtual job fairs, webinars like this, and really anything in between. We are also building our own technology, which is really going to help you navigate the complexities of becoming a nurse in Canada. So yeah, without further ado, I'll get started on this here, and it's how to become a licensed nurse in Canada. So the nursing is a regulated occupation in Canada, and you typically would use the titles of registered nurse, registered practical nurse, or a licensed practical nurse. And these are professional licensed people who are registered through a regulatory body in Canada through either one or multiple provinces or territories. There is no national registration or licensure process for nurses in Canada. It's done provincially and territorially. There are 12 different organizations that do kind of put together these registrations, and you would go through one of those to get started on the journey. So becoming a nurse in Canada, there is those 3 regulated professional groups. We have registered nurse, licensed practical nurse, and registered practical nurse. Those are both the same. They're just different provinces use different terminology. And registered psychiatric nurse, that's a bit more of a specialized one, and you typically only see it in a few provinces. Most will fall under the registered nurse licensure for psychiatric or mental health, but some provinces do have that extra RPN. And it's based on 2 factors. It includes the type of education and training that you've received to meet standards of practice that are set out by each province or territory / regulatory body, and the scope of practice. So for regulated professionals like nursing, the scope of practice is typically the type of work you can do and are authorized to do based on your training and competencies. And that's according to policies that are set forth by the regulatory bodies themselves. And it does vary by province or territory as well. So becoming a nurse in Canada, it's quite a process, but we're here to help you through that. And we can break it down into basically 5 steps here. So I'll go through each step a little bit more detail, but these are the 5 steps that we will be going through. And it's basically starting out by selecting a province or territory, registering with the NNAS, which is the National Nursing Assessment Service, obtaining proof of language proficiency, so either in English or French. Most provinces will take English. Quebec and New Brunswick do prefer French, but they will take English as well, depending on it, especially New Brunswick. And then getting a license to practice is step 4. And step 5 is passing the NCLEX exam, which is the National Council for Licensure exam that is set forth by an American organization, but Canadian or nursing bodies use it as well. And that'll allow you to become a registered nurse. So through step 1, you select a province or territory. Basically, if you're interested in becoming a nurse in any of the provinces or territories, you would select that and kind of go through their process. Based on the selection of the province or territory, an applicant will need to go through a procedure of getting their nursing licensure for their specific provincial regulatory authority. We're going to break it down through Ontario in the next step, but each province or territory will have its own nursing associations and regulations / procedures to follow. So it is really interesting. So we definitely encourage you to select a province beforehand and do some research on that as well. We'll move to step 2, which is registering with the NNAS or other designated authority. The NNAS is the National Nursing Assessment Service. It's a national body and Canadian not-for-profit organization that offers a streamlined process for internationally educated nurses to submit their documents and provide them with the tools to apply for Canadian nursing registration in any of the provinces or territories. The NNAS application process is intended to produce an advisory report that contains an evaluation of your education according to Canadian standards and compares your education to current Canadian nursing requirements for entry to practice. So depending on where you're coming from, it's going to look at the different education level you have and what you've gone through, including courses and everything. And it'll kind of match it to see if you are ready for practice in Canada. This report also contains some detailed information about your registration, licensing, and nursing practice employment. For step 3, it's obtaining a proof of language proficiency. A nursing candidate must be able to demonstrate that they're proficient in either English or French if they wish to work in Quebec. New Brunswick is both multilingual, so you'll see French and English. Some hospitals prefer French speaking, but they are pretty open, and vice versa with Quebec. It is French speaking primarily, although some hospitals do work with English speaking nurses as well. That's typically more in the northern areas of the province. For English, there's 2 types of tests that are accepted. The IELTS, which is the International English Language Testing System. I think that is one of the more popular ones that I've seen around through application processes. And the CELBAN, which is the Canadian English Language Benchmark Assessment for Nurses. Step 4 is applying to provincial regulatory bodies. So as I mentioned before, we're going to look at Ontario for an example. This is from the College of Nurses of Ontario. They are the regulatory body in Ontario for nurses, or for registered nurses, I should say. And for licensed practical or RPNs as well. So basically the process is similar to how we've outlined it, where you have the NNAS application. You'll create your application, pay the required fees, and kind of start that process. You'll get the advisory report of the applicant. You can then go to the CNO and send a request for them to create an account for you and register in Ontario. There are fees associated with it. I believe it is around $426 right now. It does change every year, so the fees do fluctuate. But that is to get you registered with the CNO. And then you'll have to complete an examination. So that is for your NCLEX, or if you're an RPN or an LPN, you'll have to complete a separate one. They're both from an American system, but they do work in Canada. And there's a lot of different testing centers you can write it with. I think one of the more popular ones is Pearson VUE, which seems to have offices pretty much around the world right now. And then you'll register as a nurse. So once you pass your exam, your entrance exam, you will register as a nurse through that provincial regulatory body, which would be for this one, the CNO. And then on to step 5. So step 5 is passing that entry exam. These are the two most common exams you'll see. So for registered nurses, it's the next generation NCLEX. And for registered practical nurses or licensed practical nurses, it's the regulatory exam practical nurse. You'll see their logos up there. I just like to add that just in case there's a lot of different exams out there. It's good to kind of put the logos to it as well. And they are led by the National Council for Licensure, Bachelor of Nursing, I believe. I can't remember the NCSBN, but that's the main one there. And basically, the NCLEX will start with that one. That is for registered nurses. It stands for the National Council Licensure Examination. It was created by the NCSBN, which is the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, which is a US-based organization, but it is utilized amongst all Canadian provinces and territories. And it's been adopted for quite some time now. Nursing graduates will need to successfully pass this entrance exam to be able to be licensed as a registered nurse in Canada or the US. And typically the exam, it has changed now. It's a new next generation that they just released last April. Through the exam, you'll have 80 to 160 questions, I believe, and it's kind of adaptive testing. So it uses computerized adaptive testing technology to deliver the exam, and it kind of has that passing point, and it determines if you're above it or below it. If you don't pass, there is a way to rewrite it again, so don't stress out too much about that. There is the opportunity to rewrite it a couple times throughout the year. You do have to wait 45 days for each time you write it. And similarly for RPNs and LPNs, you're required to write the REXPN, which is in Ontario and BC. Every other province or territory, you're required to write the CPNRE, which is a Canadian-based organization that has created an exam for practical nurses.
Thank you, Connor. We still have more from Connor, but before we go ahead, we have the most important thing for any foreign national is to see what other immigration pathways that you can come. So Connor was talking about the licensing. I'm going to talk about the immigration pathways in general. So anyone who has attempted to come to Canada would know what an express entry is, but we are just going to go through it again for those who don't know. There are 3 immigration programs under the express entry. The first one is the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Then we have the Federal Skilled Trades Program and the Canadian Express Class. For for nurses specifically, the Federal Skilled Worker Program and the Canadian Express Class might be more suited. Your profile will be assessed based on your age, education, work experience, and if you have a valid job offer. For this webinar particularly, this is where Connor helps with bringing in or matching you with a healthcare organization. And if we have a job offer, we can start your express entry profile and a provincial nomination, depending on which province you're going to. You also need English and French, just like your licensing, and you also get scores for adaptability. This is the screenshot of what we need in terms of the requirements for the express entry Federal Skilled Worker Program. So this is a very generic skill set that we need. So if you are between the ages of 18 to 47, every year you have points. So in this case, the older, the wiser will not work because you have lesser points as you grow old. You need an education, a basic education for sure, which I think most of you here would have, a diploma, bachelor's, or a double bachelor's, master's, PhD. Depending on what you have, you get more points for that. For an Canadian Express class, if you're here, you need the experience, a 1 year of experience, and even for a federal skilled worker program, you at least need 1 year of foreign experience. So if you have completed your program and you have started working, you need at least 1 year to qualify for the federal skilled worker program. And the language is also mandatory. So you probably already start working on this. So if you do IELTS, that would work better for, I know there's CELBAN as well, or CELPIP, but IELTS will work better for the immigration aspect of things as well. So, and the job offer, like I said before, if you have a job offer, you have more points in the Express Entry program, and also the provincial program, which we'll talk about in a minute. Adaptability means that if you have siblings here in Canada, you get more points, or your spouse has a sibling here. The Canadian Express class is for those who are already here and are working. So you're either in a TRV or a work permit, LMIA-based work permit, and you have at least 1 year of minimum work experience, then you qualify for the Canadian Express class. There is no education requirement specifically for the Canadian experience, but if you're looking at anywhere in the healthcare industry, you still need your standard education, like a bachelor's for sure. And that's the main thing one of the main things to in comparison with the federal skill that the Canadian Express class needs is the 1 year of work experience in Canada. Everything else remains the same. There is also, under the Express Entry category, this category-based selection. So this is specific we've just used the healthcare occupation category because of this webinar today. So there are many categories that the IRCC chooses, like STEM, agriculture, healthcare. So out of that, the healthcare occupations specifically have been targeted. So we call it a targeted draw. So when the Express Entry draws happen, in addition to the Express Entry draws, we have these targeted category-based selections. So out of that, the healthcare occupation is also included. And if you have, or if you've accumulated within the past 3 years, at least 6 months of full-time continuous work experience or an equal amount of part-time work experience, you'll be qualified. Also, in your it all has to be in one single occupation. So if you were a nurse working in a foreign country and you've been continuously working as a nurse, we can use that. This work experience can be in Canada or in your home country. And also you have to meet the other general requirements for that particular round. But this is a new draw. And it's very exciting because now it just targets only the healthcare professionals. So we have here a snapshot of the Sierra score that was required on Feb 14th this year. So the Sierra score, the minimum Sierra score we needed was 422 to be eligible for that draw. So if you had a 422 in your Sierra score, you would have been invited. So the first step is always to be in the Express Entry pool. In October 26th, the Sierra score was 431. So it's going down slowly, but we won't know whether it's going to stay down or come back up. The most important or one of the first steps that you would take when you are deciding to come to Canada as a nurse or a registered nurse is to see which province you're going to apply to first, because that kind of determines the eligibility of the province, not only for licensing, like what Connor was saying, but also for the immigration aspect of it. But for those who don't know, a provincial nominee program, which is called the PNP, is by itself is not a PR program. It is an economic immigration program that provides pathways to foreign nationals to become permanent residents. So it is for someone who has skills and education and work experience to contribute to the economy of a specific province. And you want to live in that province and later want to become permanent residents of Canada. So the provincial nomination itself is not going to give you PR. So it's going to give you an additional 600 points in your express entry profile. So each province and territory has its own streams. Depending on which province you're going to, you can choose the streams that you most qualify for. In this case, mostly it will be healthcare streams. So if you are a student, a skilled worker, a semi-skilled worker, you will choose the streams accordingly. And in addition, if you have received a nomination from that province, you will have 600 points. Recently, we had draws for the Ontario Immigration Nominee Program. This was quite exciting because they were back-to-back draws, and there's a lot of healthcare occupations listed here. So in the employer job offer category, which is a foreign worker stream, basically you need to have a job offer here. So if you put it in context to what we're talking about, if Connor has matched you with a job and we can go ahead and put a provincial nomination side by side to be eligible for this category. And they were Jan 9th, 2024, 821 candidates were invited for this targeted tech and healthcare occupation. Under the employer job offer international student stream, if you've studied here and you've got a job offer, there was a draw on 8th of Feb with 1,252 candidates that were invited for the same tech and healthcare occupation. The express entry human capital stream they particularly invited the healthcare occupations. And on 6th of Feb, the minimum CRS score, the CRS score was 379 to 430 with work experience in specifically healthcare occupations. The other popular provincial nomination is the Saskatchewan Immigrant Nominee Program. And you have to be in the international healthcare worker and you have to express your interest to be in the pool. So this is a separate process altogether. So each province has its own requirement, its own eligibility, its just to match its own process of applying. So, like for example, the Saskatchewan has its own a draw, like a expression of interest field, and its own portal. So everything is different. So which means that when you think of coming to move here in Canada as a nurse, you have to first start researching on which province you'd like to go to. There are other provincial nominations as well, like Manitoba, Alberta, Newfoundland. We were just talking that Newfoundland has a lot of demand for nurses, British Columbia, and New Brunswick. So each province has, like I said, has its own requirements, but we can go. We are not going into detail in this webinar, but we can go specifically at future dates. So please look out for that. Now, Connor can help you understand how to build your career in healthcare in Canada. On to you, Connor.
Thanks, Teresa. I'm really excited. I think this could definitely be like a monthly series now. Basically, let's showcase how Nurse Recruit can help you build your career in Canada as a nurse or healthcare professional. So throughout our platform here, Nurse Recruit will utilize our positioning within Canada to kind of match you with employers from across Canada. We've got quite a large network of employers now that we work with, and we would match nurses from Adapt Immigration. So if you go through that process and are interested in becoming a registered nurse or a registered practical nurse in Canada, we'll definitely be able to help you find employment as well. We've got an established network. We also are going to be sharing more education programs that are designed for internationally educated nurses. So there are some colleges and universities that are creating these programs unique for nurses that are interested in moving to Canada. Typically, these programs are either online or part of a part-time kind of platform where you can still work and continue on your education as well. I think these are really great opportunities to kind of enter into Canada and get that experience that you do need. We'll also be hosting virtual job fairs. So we host a lot of virtual job fairs. I'll go into a bit more detail about that in a little bit. But these are great networking opportunities to connect you with other healthcare workers and also with recruiters and employers that are looking to recruit nurses. It's a great way to learn about organizations as well. So it's not necessarily just looking for jobs, but you can come in and ask questions about their organization, their culture, and everything like that, and what it's like to live around the hospital that you're going to be working at. I think that's a really important piece as well. We also do host specific events for nurses immigrating to Canada, so we're looking at hosting a job fair that's specific to employers interested in hiring internationally educated nurses through different work programs, as Teresa mentioned. And then we're also developing a supportive community for nurses seeking immigration. And we do that through resources, our email newsletter list. I'll kind of go into detail in the next couple of slides, so I'll move on to the next one before I get into detail. So some of our virtual services that we focus on are technology-based. Our main goal is to connect you with organizations from coast to coast in Canada. So we work with different organizations from BC, Yukon, all the way out to Nova Scotia as well. And we implement these through different services. Our main one are virtual job fairs that we host. We also have a job board that we're releasing soon, and it's got a really unique potential opportunity for everyone that's interested in immigrating to Canada, because it'll showcase a filter that shows hospitals looking to provide sponsorship or visa sponsorship to immigrating healthcare workers. And not any other job board has that right now. So it's going to be a really unique feature that we're excited to debut in the next month or so. And I'm sure we'll share more information with Teresa so she can share it out to you guys as well. We also do recruitment services. So this is where if you were interested in coming to Canada, you would approach Teresa first. We would then take you on as a client as well and help you find a hospital that's right for you. And we'll connect you with the right people within that hospital to get that journey kind of started. And then we also do educational webinars similar to this, what we're doing today. We're always excited to do webinars like that to showcase the different opportunities that there are within Canada. And then we can move on to the next slide. Perfect. So yeah, these are some of our virtual job fairs that we are hosting that are coming up in the spring. So we have one specific for new grad nurses, but I welcome anyone to attend this. There's a lot of different healthcare employers out there that are going to be attending from across Canada. We have some US and Australian employers as well. So it's going to be a really unique opportunity to get to know the different employers and where they're from and what the community is like around the hospital as well. As I said earlier, you don't necessarily need to be looking for a job at the time to attend this. You can always come and kind of network a little bit more in place of that. So I will post a link in the chat as well for our 2 upcoming webinars. We also are virtual job fairs. We also have one called the Beyond Bedside Nursing Job Fair. I'm really excited about this one. We've partnered with another organization and nurse alike. Her name's Sarah Fung. She's from the RN Resume, and we're hosting this to kind of show you the different non-traditional roles that we have coming up. And why would you attend our webinars? I kind of already explained this in virtual job fairs, but it helps you learn about hiring incentives. It helps you interact with recruiters. You get to do it from the comfort of your home as well. So everything that we do is virtual, and it helps you find career opportunities, connect with the communities around the hospital, talk to other nurses. There's a lot of opportunities within that as well. We also have an email list. So the Nurse Recruit email list is definitely a great way to kind of connect with us. We send out a monthly e-newsletter, and we'll be sending out more information on resources, different employment opportunities. As we connect with more employers, we'll kind of bring them onto our e-newsletter. You can learn about upcoming webinars, unique opportunities that we have offered through webinars, job fairs, or anything else that we might have going on throughout the month. And we also do monthly tips, how to improve your resume. We'll maybe bring on Sarah's for some, as she does have a resume business as well, and everything like that. So it's a great opportunity to kind of connect with us and learn more about nursing within Canada, and also get lots of free resources to help you with your journey.
Thanks, Connor. So how can adapt immigration help with your immigration journey? Now that you know about the licensing, about how Nurse Recruit is going to help you with your healthcare jobs, and where do we come in? So in partnership with Nurse Recruit, we help you determine which province you're looking at applying. So you'll be doing Nurse Recruit. Connor will be helping you with the initial assessments for the provincial licensing to see if they match, if he will match you with a healthcare organization in that province, or if you don't have a province in mind, then depending on what the demand is, we can help you choose a province. And after that, we do your assessment. So Adapt Immigration will be doing your PR assessment first to see where you stand or where's your CRS score. And if you need a work permit application for this for the job, or we'll be probably doing simultaneously. You get the work permit while we do the PR application as well, depending on your individual circumstances. Sometimes you might not have enough CRS score, so while you gain some local experience, we can work on the PR application or the PNP or the provincial nomination side by side. So it depends on what your background is. But we will help you to do the whole application from start to finish. So from PR to your citizenship, or from your work permit to your citizenship. Just one more information about the on the programs. You could possibly need to come and study here as well, depending on your requirements. So if you have to come to study, gain a little bit more knowledge, or get a local Canadian education qualification, or to match something that you already have, we can help you with that as well. So how do we do this? How do we do the PR application? The first step is always an assessment. So once you come to us via Connor, or even if you come to us, we kind of match you with Nurse Recruit first, and we have individual consultations, and then we collaborate on your profile, and depending on where Connor can match you, which province, we do the assessment, and you have a consultation with me. So we look at all your work experience, your all the other factors that contribute to your CRS score. And after that, we have another step where our document specialist, we have a specific document specialist that would reach out to you, give you a list of a checklist of documents that you need to start preparing. So this is the stage where we'll probably do the express entry profile. So there are a couple of stages before this, like getting a job offer via Nurse Recruit, and looking at a provincial nomination. So there could be a province that we are doing assessments for, but in general, the first step is always getting your express entry profile created. So you start preparing your documents for that. And the final application, all PR applications, not just for healthcare, we have we assist you with filling up the forms. We help you complete all the documents and the forms and any supporting documents. And we have a 3-point checking here at Adapt, where 3 people check your applications before we actually submit your application for. It could be from a visitor visa to a citizenship to PR, anything. We always have a 3-point checking as well, to reduce the number of any errors or possible errors that could happen. And then we submit your application. We have a program within Adapt called the Adapt Comprehensive Program. So we started this program for those who came to study here and wish to continue the services through PR and citizenship. So if you had come to study here and you continued your PR application, you get 10% discount on all future services, and you have us from the start till the end. And now, if you still do come with us for a job offer, work permit, or PR application, and if any other future programs use future services like citizenship, for example, you'll still get 10% off because you are already a client. So Adapt Comprehensive Program, you'll automatically get into the Adapt Comprehensive Program. So we are at the end of the presentation. We are open to questions. While we get some questions from you, we have some frequently asked questions. Do I need to study in Canada in order to work in healthcare and become a PR? So in terms of like in terms of foreign, actually international education, you could do that, but what we spoke about today is actually licensing, getting your license here while you are a registered nurse in your home country. So you've already done your qualification in your home country. You have a license in that country, and then how you kind of transfer it or match the license or get a local license here is the whole is what we were talking about. But if you do want to, if you absolutely, you're in a year 12 and you're looking at coming to study, you can do that as well. Of course, it'll be easier for you to get the license because you've studied here, and you can become a PR. The PR process will be simpler. Anything to add on in that, Connor?
Yeah, I think the PR process, like it is pretty easy coming in from a different country, but there are some programs in some countries where you do need additional education. And there's a lot of colleges and universities here in Canada now that are preparing you for that. So there is those opportunities as well. So I wouldn't let it be a barrier to you as well. There is that opportunity and there are those potentials. I'll be sharing a resource with the emails that we've collected today on that with the different educational opportunities within Canada for internationally educated nurses.
I have a bachelor's degree in nursing in my home country, but don't have a license there. Can I still immigrate and get a license to become a registered nurse in Canada? So yeah, you can. So that's where Connor will help you with the licensing of the provincial nomination through the whole what he just explained, and I will help you with the immigration aspect of it. And if you have the necessary requirements for a particular province or for the Express Entry Federal Worker Program.
I will add something there as well. If you have written the NCLEX for your home country to get a license, it's definitely preferred to continue that license on in the home country because they'll have to transfer that to one of the colleges of nursing here in Canada as well. It just makes the process a lot easier. I know I've gone through that process myself between going from Canada to the US. Having that license and having the college behind you or that home country nursing association, it'll really help as well. So this question here, do I need to pass the NCLEX to work as a nurse in Canada? Do you want me to, I can answer that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, okay. So basically, yes, the NCLEX, if you are applying to become a registered nurse, you would need to pass the NCLEX. That is our entrance exam. It's put on by the NCSBN. It's an American organization, as we mentioned before, but they utilize it across Canada. And that would be your entry to practice exam. So after you register with the College of Nurses, let's say for an Ontario, for example, the CNO, you will have to write the NCLEX. And once you pass that, you will be able to register fully as a nurse once you pay your fees. But if you don't pass, that's okay too. You can always rewrite it every 45 days in Canada or in Ontario, you can rewrite it. Certain provinces and territories have different regulations on that, but it's not the end of the world. There is still the opportunity to be able to rewrite it again. There's a lot of good resources as well. So I think that's the next question too that we had. So
okay, how do I prepare?
Yeah, how do I prepare, study for the NCLEX? So there's a lot of different opportunities out there. When I did the NCLEX myself, I tried to find as many free opportunities as possible. You can get resourceful on YouTube, on Reddit. There's a lot of good resources. I know a lot of people watch the Mark Klemek lectures. Those I found were the most resourceful for me, and it really helped me kind of understand how to write the NCLEX. There's a lot of different test prep companies as well that we work with. I would highly recommend any of them. I think they're all really good in their own ways. And it's kind of more of a personal preference when you are studying. And also using your nursing lectures. So anything that you had through your education process is really going to be resourceful. A lot of you might have experience already, so bringing that into factor as well is really important too. Each College of Nurses will kind of outline the different ways to study for the NCLEX as well. So I'd always suggest doing research through that as well. The NCSBN has their own little PDFs that you can kind of download and look at too, and they provide you with a guide to kind of learn more on.
Do you have job openings for midwife? That's the question for you.
Yes, I think so, yeah. So we do see midwives. It is a little bit more different. Certain provinces focus on them more than other provinces. I know like Ontario and BC are pretty large. You would have to register. It's a similar process as nursing for midwifery. But I think I can post a link here to the College of Midwifery. Oh, no, it doesn't let me post it. But there is an internationally educated pathway for midwives as well that are interested in coming to Canada. I think the College of Midwives of Ontario, which is similar to the College of Nurses Ontario, they have a process that you can go through as well, but I think you are required to do some sort of education proponent in Canada.
Yeah, so we can check the licensing and the what's the gap that needs to or what education gap or not a gap exactly, what exactly is there to bridge the
Yes,
education
exactly, yeah.
as well. So yeah, do we have any more questions? Okay, so what's next? Now we have Connor is going to send some very useful information to everybody that we will send out to everyone who has registered here. And the first step is to book a consultation with us. You will also find this in the email that's following this webinar. And what happens after that is you book. So the consultations with us in general, if you were a direct client with Adapt Immigration, is paid. We charge $200, but because you have come here and you've taken the first step and you have registered for the webinar, it's absolutely free. So make this opportunity count. You to book a consultation, see if you qualify for the express entry, and we will then put you on to Connor to see if he has any matches or any job in the healthcare industry. Or while we do that, we can do the assessments for express entry and provincial nominations as well. So if you have any questions as well, send us a message. And also, we're just talking about the future webinars, or we'll focus on one province each. So there's more detailed information about that province and the eligibility requirement, the licensing, and all of that. So please follow us and like us on on our socials, Nurse Recruit and Adapt Immigration, and you will be informed as and when we have these webinars. So if we don't have any more questions, do we have any more questions, Anne? No. So if there are no more questions, please make use of that consultation link. And thank you, Connor, for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
It's been really, really informative. I'm sure everyone's got a lot of information now on the licensing requirements and how Nurse Recruit and how Adapt and Nurse Recruit work together as well.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it's a good kind of package when you have someone to help you with your job or match you with the right job while someone does the immigration services for you. So thank you for being here, and I'm sure
Thank you for having me.
The last one. We have more to go. And thank you everyone for joining. Thanks, Anne, for coordinating all of this, and we will see you in another webinar next time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you again. Take care, everyone.
Bye.